There are a million things you can do with remnants, but you can also use all your little scraps. And one of the things that's bothered me a lot in the sewing room is the iron cable. It's always in the way. Even when I fold it, it expands again the minute I put it on the table, and when I put it in the drawer it even stays out and I caught it with the drawer. So I want to make a little cable holder. I have lots of different scraps, of course, but I want to use the one I used the other day for the blouse, the one with the Mexican motifs. I think it's really nice. And then I have different elastic bands in colors, which are really fun. So I'm going to use the lilac one and an orange button. For this project I'm going to use 2 rectangles of fabric of 10 by 15 centimeters and the same of interfacing, a little bit of elastic band and a button. These projects are ideal if you are starting to sew or if you know how to sew, if you've been sewing for a while. It's really good, they're really rewarding because in 10 minutes you have your project done. So if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing because I upload twice a week and we all learn together and it's quite good. People leave nice comments with tips, so it's ideal. With my 2 rectangles of fabric already interfaced, I'm going to sew them right sides together so I can pull them right sides out and then sew the elastic band and the button. So I'm going to start by interfacing my 2 pieces of fabric with the iron. I'm going to sew this right sides together, leaving one of the sides open so I can pull it right sides out later on. And to sew all the corners in one go, I'm just going to sew with a straight stitch, and when I get to the corner I'm going to leave the needle in, lift the presser foot and rotate it. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, pull it down again and keep sewing. Now I'm going to cut the corner so I can turn it right sides out. It looks like you won't be able to do it because with the interfacing it gets really stiff, but you'll manage. And then for the corners I'm going to use my scissors closed, of course, really carefully to put the corners right out. And I've seen some little like palette things that are used for this, but I haven't got them. So for now this will do. Now this side that it's open needs to be pushed in, which won't be difficult at all because I cut the corners. And in this side is where I'm going to add the elastic band. There are a million ways to do, well, not million, but there's a different way to put the elastic band on, but sometimes for some people it's a bit confusing because you have to place it in a way that when you put it right sides out, the elastic band is out and doesn't stay in there. So for some people that's a bit difficult, so this way it's quite easy and you won't get lost. Before I just sewed with some blue ribbon on the inside because I had mended some jeans, but now I'm going to change my thread because I'm going to top stitch all around it, and I'm going to use some pink because I think I haven't got purple. Do I? So this is perfectly sewn, it won't go anywhere. And now the last thing is to put the button that I'm going to do by hand. I don't really enjoy sewing by hand, I never do, and this is why it's only one button. So I'm going to try and sew it by hand, so I practice as well. If you have only one button to sew, do you do it on the machine or do you do it by hand? And I'm going to sew it right in the middle so this can wrap around the cable and hold it properly. If you have any doubts, you can check on the cable you're going to hold anyways, but let's go ahead. Now that I'm sewing it, I'm realizing that in case you don't want the stitch, the back stitch of the button, you can do it before you sew the whole thing together. I mean, if you do it before and then you sew the two pieces of fabric right sides together, you'll get a nice look and you won't have the stitches on the back. It doesn't really matter because it's not anything special. I mean, it's not a blouse, it's not anything, it's just a cable holder. But if you wanted to make it for someone or you want to sell it or something like that, it will be ideal to do that. So this is my little project for today. It's really easy to do. You can have it done in under 10 minutes. It's ideal for beginners, and if you want, you can even use it for as a business to sell a few of these or even to give as presents. But if you do, remember to sew the bottom before you sew the right pieces together so you don't have the stitches on the back. You cannot escape the cable holder. It looks rather smart, doesn't it? And cute. So it's just how I wanted it to be. It's quite easy to do. It's ideal to use up all your scraps and for beginners as well. So if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing because I upload twice a week and that way you don't miss anything. And I leave you here a link to all the little projects I've done with scraps so you can have a look. There's always good ideas around. See you later, and don't forget to subscribe.